Donald Trump's transgender military ban is just the beginning. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe. Let's talk about this hateful, ugly, unnecessary ban. So, the executive order went out tonight, and it refers back to the first trove of executive orders that came out the first day that Donald Trump was in office, where he described, the different genders and saying that there are only two genders and that was going to be the government's policy. And then now we see that that policy has morphed into what would essentially amount to a transgender ban on openly transgender people in the United States military. There's been no study, there's been no consensus by any committee of Congress, there's been no investigation by any department that has reached the conclusion that transgender people in the military somehow pose a risk to our military. And with sort of this effusive, dismissive, and wholly ignorant executive order, Donald Trump is just getting started with his authoritarian rule. So he's also culling the different herds. He's stopping international aid. He's stopping domestic grants and aid to universities across the country. He's stopping international aid. He's halting HIV aid that our country provides, at the same time as, threatening trade wars against Colombia and Mexico and Canada and China, and then about annexing Panama and Greenland. These are every single day, with every single one of these extreme measures, Donald Trump is weakening our country both from the outside and from within. He's weakening our American influence and goodwill on the international stage by halting aid programs. He is hurting research programs across the country by stopping and stalling the grants and any sort of financial aid that is provided from the federal coffers. He is bringing our country to a halt, and he's dismissing people who were hired under diversity, inclusion, and equity programs. He's firing people. Essentially, it'll be firing transgender people from the military, if this ban goes into effect. And I would assume that there would be lawsuits that would rise out of this, that would go to the Supreme Court, and that would be about discrimination on the basis of sex. And then I don't know how the Supreme Court is going to go, because, the only sort of basis of rights there is under the Equal Protection Clause and the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. And we have Obergefell as the latest case that has come out where an unenunciated constitutional right has been vested on a protected class. And this case, depending on how it approaches, could actually see the undoing of Obergefell and of marriage equality. It can even usher in the overturning of Griswold v. Connecticut, and therefore the entire analysis of having substantive due process, meaning unenumerated rights being protected under the Constitution. And it's a threat. We are facing a threat. And don't be surprised if you hear policies similar to Don't Ask, Don't Tell that Donald Trump decides to impose on the military and other federal departments. He can do that in the enforcement branch, but he cannot make that law. That has to go through Congress. And with the Red Congress, we have to push and resist and make sure that there is no prohibitive law that is passed under Donald Trump, that Donald Trump signs, banning transgender people or reinstating Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That would be really going back. And we are not very far away from that. With that said, pay attention to the news, pay attention to facts. Always raise alarm when you see something that you think is important for others to know. If you have questions, leave them in the comment box. If you have other comments, I welcome them. If you are not civil about it, it's my channel. So please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.